Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. It is Tuesday the 9th of July. We've got loads of stories today, big stories as well. United making bids for defenders, United trying to sign multiple defenders. We're looking around 100 million United are trying to spend in the next few days. We've also got a big update on Mason Greenwood. It looks like a deal is finally being done there. And a big update on Ugarte as well. It is literally all kicking off with Manchester United. And we're going to be kicking off with this bid for Jarrad Branthwaite, coming from friend of the channel, Chris Wheeler. We've had him on in the past. Very good journalist. He seems to have got an exclusive here, which has then been backed up by Fabrizio Romano as well. So we know that this is legit. Let's go back to Chris Wheeler there because he deserves the credit for this. Big story here. Man United make a second bid for Jarrad Branthwaite worth £50 million as Old Trafford Club look to wrap up 4 signings with Mason Greenwood's sale set to boost transfer budget. Now, just on Chris Wheeler quickly, obviously, we've had him on the channel before. I know people like to have a bit of a back and forth with the Daily Mail, and obviously politically and all that stuff is one element. But one thing that is for sure is that this summer, give Simon Jones a bit of credit as well because he's written this article with Chris Wheeler. One thing is for sure, Chris Wheeler's been doing these articles with these sort of big kind of wrap-up, breaking news sort of style. And they have been excellent and largely speaking, massively reliable as well. Really, really good stuff coming out of the Daily Mail and Chris Wheeler this summer, which is obviously good. You want, the more reliable journalists that there are, and Chris has been around a long time. It's not new, but this new style of article that we've seen this summer has been really, really good and really helpful, I think, in terms of separating what's good and what isn't. But we know this to be true. Manchester United have made a second bid for Jarrad Branthwaite. This is alongside all of the stuff for Matthijs de Ligt as well, which obviously indicates and proves beyond any doubt that we want to sign both of these players. Get in the comments and we'll go through all of that. But it says here, Manchester United have tabled an improved offer of £45 million plus £5 million in add-ons for Everton defender Jarrad Branthwaite. Everton rejected United's opening bid of £35 million last month and are known to want closer to £70 million for the 22-year-old, but United, who are prepared to give Branthwaite a long-term contract worth £160,000 a week, which is a hell of a lot of money, obviously by anyone's metric, but in footballing terms, is kind of middle of the road, which is what we should be doing. Hope that the increased offer might tempt the Premier League rivals to the negotiating table. Now, there have since been reports, and I'm not sure if Romano mentioned it in his kind of backing up of this story. We can get to that tweet momentarily. He doesn't mention it there. Oh, it does, yeah, of course. Everton have already rejected this bid. So within them, I think he spelled Jarrad wrong there, but within them making this bid, Everton have sort of rejected it immediately. £45 million plus £5 million add-ons considered as proposal far from the price tag as Everton see Branthwaite, similar to Guardiola and more top players. That's the downside here, isn't it? Everton are playing hardball with this guy. And it seems as though they're sort of waiting for us to make a bid and we'll reject it. This like the back and forth of, okay, well, maybe we can come down a bit, you come up a bit, we'll meet you in the middle. They just go in, we want 70, we want 70, we want 70. And this is the exact sort of negotiating style that in the past has seen United crumble and pay 70. This has got Harry Maguire written all over it. We want to pay 45, they want 80. We'll give you 55, we want 80. All right, 65 plus add-ons, we want 80. All right, 80 million then. And it takes us 6 weeks to make a deal that isn't worth the money. And this isn't meant to be a specific dig at Harry Maguire because it's happened with many, many players, many of whom have had far worse careers at Man United than Harry Maguire has. But the selling club gives us a price at the start of the window. We go, no chance. Then 6 weeks later, we go, here's the money. Here it is, sorry. Sorry for ever doubting you. Sorry for ever trying to get it for less. We can't do that with him for many reasons. One is he's probably not worth 70 million, although maybe he is. But more importantly, we can't be seen to be bending over for teams and players like Everton and Jarrad Branthwaite. We can't go in there. We wanted to pay 35 million plus 5 million add-ons for him. So we think he's worth 40 million. They think he's worth 70. The actual fee has to be somewhere in the middle. If it's just what Everton want, it looks terrible for Ineos. It's a terrible precedent to set for the new ownership that will just crumble and pay what you want like the old guys did. And also, it means that we're spending money that we don't have on a player that maybe isn't good enough to be worth that transfer fee. And we've seen this many times with players as well. A Harry Maguire that comes in for 40 million, or an Anthony that comes in for 40 million, or a Paul Pogba that comes in for 60 million. the scrutiny is so much smaller. They get away with so much more. You're allowed to make a mistake or two without your confidence being completely destroyed by the press, by social media, because that fee that's attached to a player is completely, directly proportionate to the amount of stick they get for a mistake. If someone's like a Dan James, if you get him for 15 million quid and he's not that great, that's fine. He's a good guy. We like him. He's a happy guy. And he does more stuff than you'd think for how much he cost. Whereas if Dan James costs 55 million, it's what a waste of money. This is a disgrace. He's an embarrassment. He's not even Premier League level. The fee that people cost is completely relevant to how much stick they get. And because of that, how much their confidence can build and how much of a player they can become. If Jadon Sancho costs 40 million quid, we might not be in the mess that we're in. But he's expected to be one of the best players in the world for the fee that he cost. And if they're not, they get criticised and destroyed as though they chose their own fee. So for not just United's reputation, but for Jarrad Branthwaite's Man United career, we can't spend 70 million quid on him. I really do believe that. John Murphy says, we should walk away now and send a message out to everyone that this is the new regime that won't be held to ransom. Exactly. That is exactly the point I'm making. We have to show people things have changed at Manchester United. Buenos says, why buy such expensive players when you can buy De Vrij for free? Well, how old is De Vrij for starters? He's 32 years old. That's why. That's Vrij. De Vrij's contracted until 2025, according to 16142. But again, he's 32 years old, and is he that level? We're moving away from getting players like that. We need a team for the future, not a team that's 32 years old. Roshan says, no way 70 million. CTB says, Consa would be cheaper and better than Braithers, which I like. Hit like on the video as well, please. If you're watching this and it's got less than 500 likes, hit the like button. Let's get to 500 likes. Carl Dunley says, Joe, your beard is looking splendid today. Is there a particular beard trimming device that you use? Yes, there is. Thanks for asking. Let's move on to our next story. And this, like we said, it's already sort of been linked to the Branthwaite deal. And this is the De Ligt latest. Man United considered Jarrad Branthwaite and Matthijs De Ligt as two separate deals. Now, on one hand, you go, well, of course they're two separate deals. It's two separate players from two different clubs. We couldn't give them, we can't pay them both together. Of course they're separate. But I think what he means is we aren't relying on one to rule out the other. So it's not like, if we get Branthwaite over the line, then we'll drop the De Ligt interest and vice versa. What he's saying is United want to buy both De Ligt and Jarrad Branthwaite. Everton insist on 65 to 70 million. De Ligt talks with Bayern continue with United increasingly confident. Both players are keen on the move. De Ligt only wants United. And I've heard a lot of people say, where does this leave Lisandro Martinez? Let's say United buy two young centre-backs, one of them somewhere in the region of 55 million, let's say for Branthwaite, one of them in the region of 45 million for De Ligt. You're looking at 100 million quid there. We've just spent 100 million quid on centre-backs. Where does this leave Lisandro Martinez, the guy who, I think pretty much every United fan believes to be our current best centre-back? Should we sign two? Maybe we should. We saw Lisandro Martinez was out for 7 months last season, 6 months, whatever it was, a very, very long time. And we were left with backups and backups to backups and 36-year-olds and 19-year-olds, and centre mids playing at defence. Look at Man City. They're back four. Three of them are centre backs. You've got Ake at left back, who's a centre back. You've got Akanji. You've got Diaz. You've got John Stones, who's a centre back who plays sometimes. He sometimes plays in midfield. Look at Arsenal. They have Tomiyasu. They have Saliba. They have Gabriel, and they have Ben White. That's four centre backs as their back four. Arsenal, City going back a couple of years, they had Ruben Diaz, Aymeric Laporte and John Stones. Three world-class centre-backs on their day. I think, some of them are slightly overrated, but these are top players. And they didn't go, what we're going to do with them all? This isn't right. They went, we need three players because firstly, if one gets injured, then that's just your next two are playing every game. But also, even if everyone's fit, you need competition, you need to be able to rest players. We're so deprived of a deep top-level squad at Man United that we almost become scared that we might have one more player than we need in a position. We sort of embarrassed to have an extra top-class player. We can't have two. We can't have three top-class centre-backs. We only get to play two. Yeah, but people need a rest. We play 60 games every year. Martinez and De Ligt aren't going to both play 60 games next season. I can guarantee you that. Even if Jarrad Branthwaite didn't exist and he wasn't at Manchester United, those two are not playing 120 games between them. We need 120 games worth of top centre-backs at Man United. You got to look at it like that. It's like the same with the striker. What's Xerxes coming in? What's going to happen to Højlund? We need 60 games worth of strikers next season. Højlund ain't going to play 60 games by himself. Xerxes isn't going to do the same. The only person in the squad who I think can play 60 games next season is Bruno Fernandes. And even he got injured last year. We need multiple top-level players in each position. You need an extra, not just the 2 that start or the 1 that starts. So for me, it's fantastic news that we're going for both of these players. Absolutely fantastic. Tyler Wood says, a live Joe has appeared. Yes, very much. Curly says, whichever centre-backs we sign, they need to be tall. We can't have 2 tiny centre-backs. We'd get destroyed at set pieces. Branthwaite is 6'4", I believe. De Ligt somewhere in the region of 6'2". Both very good in the air. I think United pretty much agree with you, to be honest. Mark Paul Andrew, we can play 3 at the back. We can play 3 at the back, but again, we don't need to. 2 centre-backs isn't enough for 2 centre-back spots, if you know what I mean. You need an extra. Of course you need an extra. Like, top teams don't just have 11 players. They've got 16 players, some of which can play multiple positions, so that when they come off the bench, you might bring them in as a striker or as a left winger. You might bring them on as a centre mid or a centre defensive mid. You might bring them on as a centre-back or a left. But like, you need very, very good players across the pitch and off the bench, especially now you can have 5 subs as well. Back in the day, you could only have 3, but now you can change half of the outfield team every single game if you want. Do you want those players coming off the bench to be a massive drop-off in quality? Of course we don't. I think Serge Kuna says, Joe, you didn't look too shabby as a centre-back. Very true, yeah, you're right. I didn't look too shabby. I should probably play for Man United, actually. That's a good point. And I'd cost far less than 55 million. Moving on to De Ligt, the next step of this. This is Christian Falk, who said Man United want to complete the transfer of Matthijs De Ligt. And this is from 6 minutes ago? 10 minutes ago? United and De Ligt have an agreement. De Ligt made it clear that to Bayern that he wanted to join United, and Bayern demand a transfer fee of 50 to 60 million euros. Well, I reckon we can say 50 then, can't we? What's that about? How much nice trainers, mate. Oh, can I buy them off you? Yeah, how much do you want? 50 to 60? 50. Who would go 50 to 60? 60? If they're willing to take 50, we're paying 50, aren't we? I hate that. Somewhere in the region of 50 million. Well, it'll be 50 then, or less. But this is an update, obviously coming from Sport Bill, that United want to complete the transfer of De Ligt. Contract till 2027. That's 3 years. That's weird, isn't it? That's the first time I've seen a number put on the contract date. In the same 24 hours that Chelsea just signed a new left-back until 2032, we're only signing him on a 3-year deal. Presumably that'll be a +1. But why would that be the case? I mean, obviously this isn't confirmed. This is just the reporting of Christian Falk. A 3-year deal? Didn't we give Casemiro a 4-year deal when he was 30? That's a bit odd to me. What do you think of that? Let me know. That's his Bayern contract. Okay, thank you very much, Heaven Soul, for clearing that up, because that's a weird way to report that, isn't it? Man United want to complete the transfer of Matthijs De Ligt contract until 2027. Okay, fair enough. I've misread that. That's his Bayern contract. I was thinking surely United aren't going to sign him on a 3-year deal. Okay, very good. Right. We'll bring you the latest on that. I think this deal's going to happen, personally. And I think De Ligt is a fantastic player. People are doubting him because, well, he must be shit because he only plays for really, really good teams. What? He's gone from Ajax to Juventus to Bayern Munich. I would say that that's a step up each time. I know Juventus are a very big club, but in the last 6 or 7 years, what have they won? 1 title? He's taken a step up in quality each time. And let's be honest, in terms of stature of club, United are probably bigger than Bayern Munich. But in terms of quality, this is his first step down, really. You know, we haven't been as good as Bayern Munich for the last decade. But he's rejoining his old manager. He's playing in the biggest league in the world. You know, he's earning a lot of money. He's playing for the biggest club in the world, up there with Real Madrid anyway. I don't think this whole thing of him being finished it doesn't seem to ring true to me. Let's move on to some exits then. And this is a big one. Again, coming from Chris Wheeler, who has been doing, like I said, great work this summer and beyond, but certainly this summer. Mason Greenwood set to join Marseille in a £27 million move as Man United look to sell as many as 8 players this summer. The Mason Greenwood Mason Greenwood is close to ending his controversial United career by moving to Marseille. Greenwood held talks with United officials on Monday, yesterday, but did not train with his teammates on the first day of pre-season. The 22-year-old who spent last season on loan at Getafe has told he no longer has a future at Old Trafford, despite charges of an attempted rape and assault against him being dropped last year, which we all know about. And I don't think we need to go into that too much. Just quickly on the situation. I think we can all agree this is the best thing for him, isn't it? I saw an account on social media yesterday posting on behalf of United fans, which, as a United fan, I would never do. I don't think there are too many United fans with too many different opinions to ever think you're speaking on behalf of United fans. You can speak on behalf of yourself. You can ask others for opinion, which we do all the time here. But to think that you have some authority to speak on behalf of United fans and ask for him to be welcomed back to the club, which is what this account was doing, is, for me, an absolute piss take and something that you should think very, very carefully before you start doing. And obviously, we like to think that we listen to the voices of fans and everyone in the chat, everyone in the comments who follows us. We absolutely love you. But at no point do we think we're speaking on behalf of Man United fans, except for ourselves. And I think anyone who does that on social media, especially when it's a topic quite as delicate as this one, should really be thinking twice before posting stuff like that. However, it seems their claims and their protestations have fallen on deaf ears because it looks as though Mason Greenwood is leaving. £27 million. I think as well, there is a lot of talk about a sell-on fee. Somewhere up to like 50% is one of the things I've seen, where United clearly seem to be, oh, here we go, look. So this is Marseille. Again, obviously, €30 million plus a big sell-on clause. Future sale percentage is considered crucial by United. It can be around 40 to 50% with final round of talks ongoing. This is obviously, the fee is a reflection of the situation that Mason has put himself in, and the sell-on fee is a reflection of the quality of the player. We think one day he will be worth a lot more than the 30 million that we're selling him for now, but we accept that we aren't going to get much more from him than that because the number of clubs who would take him is very limited, and the amount of money they're willing to spend on someone who's played one season of football in 2.5 years, again, very limited. I understand why United have structured it like this. I think for Marseille, this could be a great deal for them. I think for United, it makes a lot of sense. And I think that, this deal makes a lot of sense all around. So for me, this is perfect. Kiran Gill says, you don't have authority too. That's exactly what I've just said. I don't have authority. I don't speak for all United fans. I speak for myself. That's what I've said 5 or 6 times in the last couple of minutes. And I'm saying that people in general shouldn't think they're speaking on behalf of all United fans, because there are millions and millions of United fans, all of whom rightfully have different opinions to each other, and that's what makes any fan base, any collection of people so important, is that people do have different opinions that can be respected. There's other outgoings in this article from Chris Wheeler as well. Donny van der Beek, another one. This is a mad transfer, by the way. We bought him for €40 million 4 years ago. We are selling him for £400,000. Has there ever been a transfer that has lost such a high percentage of its original value that still amounted in a sale? Obviously, people leave for free all the time. Has anyone been bought for €40 million and been sold for what? A thousandth of it? 100th of it? No, it's 100th, isn't it? Is that right? A 10th? No, that'd be 4. It's 100th. 1% of the original fee is what we're getting for this guy. I've never seen that before. Can anyone else think of a time that's happened? Someone buys a player and a few years later sells the same player for 1% of the original fee. What? That is absolutely crazy, isn't it? That is crazy. Heaven Soul makes a great point that I was just about to get onto. The add-ons are apparently super easy to achieve, though, and will likely get back at least 5 million easy and 10 million fairly easily. That's great. And again, United are very much in the sort of defensive position here. We don't have a lot to attack with. Donny van der Beek has barely played football for the last 2 or 3 seasons. He barely played as soon as he got to United, which indicates, oh, right, maybe he's not the quality we thought he was. Then he's been on loan. Injuries, form, different things have meant that his loan spells have been pretty poor. Now you're looking at a player who potentially could be worth a lot more, but £450,000 for a player that we spent 40 million on. Genuinely, we're getting 1% of the transfer fee for him. That's absolutely remarkable. Hopefully it goes up to 10, 20% or whatever that total fee would be, 25% I think, obviously if it's 10 million. Hopefully we get up to that. But for now, Donny van de Beek looks like he's leaving Manchester United, and it's going to be for 1% of what we bought him for. Bloody hell. Let's move on to another story then. We've got Ugarte here, and this is from someone called Alexis Bernard, who I'm not particularly well aware of, but he works for Le 10 Sport, which is a broadcaster and publication, should I say, in France, who their reliability is quite patchy, to be honest, which is why I've left it toward the bottom of this. But he's claiming an exclusive here, so you have to take that you have to give it a little bit of, right, let's look into this, because, you know, he could be saying this isn't happening, this isn't happening, other reports suggest, but he's claiming that this is his exclusive story. It says here, this is Google Translate, of course. Big progress by Man United in the Miguel Ugarte transfer. Optimism in the English board to complete the transfer. File, I'm guessing, is transfer. Offer of 45 million euros plus bonuses. Final decision from Luis Enrique expected. They paid 60 million euros for him 12 months ago. So they're losing somewhere in the region of sort of 20% there, which isn't bad for them. They bought a player, it hasn't really worked out, and they've got most of their money back. I think this is a good deal for both United and PSG. Spend less than 50 million euros. I know it doesn't really make too much of a difference in the grand scheme of things, but I think any fee that starts with a 4 feels like half as big as one that starts with a 5. Do you know what I mean? Like 45 million feels way less than 50 million. Do you know what I mean? It feels like a fraction of the amount somehow. Like 80 feels way more than 70. Don't know why, just does. But this is obviously very exciting news. We need to wait until we see maybe a United source reporting this, or a bit more of a backing up of that this is going to happen. But we do know, obviously, United are in for Ugarte as well. JMCR says Ugarte, Mainu and Bruno is a solid midfield 3. Absolutely. Santa Notch says perception. Exactly. The perception of 45 is like, oh, we've spent 20 million less than 50. I don't know why, but it does feel like that. 16142 says true. Most of our deals start with at least a 5. At least a 5. That's going to be all from me this morning. Thank you very much for joining. Actually, we've got one super chat. Akash says, is it true that Sancho wasn't at training yesterday? I'm not sure. I didn't see any picture of him at training. I've seen conflicting reports that he was there, but he wasn't training, and then other reports saying that he's back in the squad with everyone else. I don't know, is the honest answer to that. Jibak Sahu says, if we're spending 70 million on a centre-back, what's stopping us from shopping at the top shelf? Antonio Silva should be available for that, and he's way better. I assume they think Jarrad Branthwaite is one of the best young centre-backs in the world. That's my assumption. I would think that Ineos, that Ashworth, etc. would say to you, we think he's better than Antonio Silva. That's what I think. But we'll have to wait and see. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to be back this afternoon with a big one-on-one interview as well. More on that to come later on today. Thank you very much for joining us. Manchester United, we're getting bits done. We've got fingers in pies. We're selling, we're buying, we're clearing out the squad. Stuff is happening at Manchester United. Thanks for watching.